Hello, I'm Francois Antoine, Director of HMI and Embedded Systems at Epic Games.
And I'm Joe Andresen, Technical Product Manager for HMI and Embedded Systems at Epic Games.
Today, we're very proud to announce our Human-Machine Interface Initiative. Our dedicated HMI team of technical artists and engineers is committed to this effort, and we are continually adding new features to benefit all manufacturers. We're thrilled that General Motors recently announced GMC Hummer EV will be the first vehicle to use Unreal Engine in its digital cockpit. This marks an exciting partnership in building next-generation experiences on embedded systems.
Unreal Engine provides key features for design-driven development. Quickly iterate with Blueprint's visual scripting, collaborate with complete version control support, instantly preview designs on your desktop, and stay in control with direct access to source code. These features and more enable designers, artists, and developers to work directly on the project that is deployed to the vehicle.
Unreal Engine is a comprehensive toolset for creating beautiful, interactive visuals using our advanced scalable renderer. Niagara is a state-of-the-art particle system that brings your designs to life. Downloadable content instantly changes the look, feel, and functionality of your UI, giving your users the freedom to customize their experience.
To highlight our commitment to HMI development, we're happy to announce that in addition to Linux and Unreal Engine as a library on Android, we're working to bring Unreal Engine to BlackBerry QNX's Neutrino microkernel real-time operating system. And you'll be able to craft a great navigation experience with our upcoming integration of Mapbox.
With highly tested features used by millions of artists and developers, Unreal Engine opens up exciting possibilities for all creators. From prototyping and concepting to final production and beyond, Unreal Engine is with you the entire way.
Yes, does my sound okay?
Yes. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Educator Livestream. My name is Louis Cataldi, and I'm your host for today's stream, as I usually am, and we've got Mark Flanagan, who's joining us from the United Kingdom, and we've got some great guests today who are joining us for our Educator Livestream, and today's stream is about preparing creators for the future, and we've got some great educators joining us from all over the world, including Neil Gallagher from the University of Hertfordshire. And we've got Seth Holliday from Brigham Young University and Sue-Ann Fu from Savannah College of Art and Design. And this is a really great opportunity because this has been Education Week here at the Epic Games. And hopefully you joined us for yesterday's live stream, which was a lot of fun with Victor and a large group of students who shared a lot of amazing projects that were amazing. If you didn't get a chance to see them, the VOD should be up, and the video will be on YouTube in probably a couple of days or so. So be sure to check it out because there were some really stunning and stellar projects, and we got into depth about how they built those projects. So today is kind of a great follow-up on that stream because we're actually going to turn the tables and talk to some instructors from, what I consider some of amazing institutions that are teaching Unreal Engine at an incredibly high level. Take a look at their work, take a look at how it is that they teach their students as part of Education Week. And, hopefully at the beginning of this stream, you see the student reel playthrough. And we've got a treat today because we're going to share the all-new fall student showcase. And so you show you some more amazing work. And it's been a treat because Seth and Neil and Sue-Ann are going to share some of the work that these amazing institutions have been doing, how they prepare their students to work in real time, work in Unreal Engine. Also, Twinmotion and the Quixel Ecosystem toolset. And as usual, we've got Mark here. It's a real treat also because Tom Shannon, who happens to have been on holiday this week, is joining us in the chat. So be sure to say hi to Tom because it's always great to have him, and we miss him here in the stream. So without further ado, what I want to do is just allow Neil and Seth and Sue-Ann to introduce themselves a little bit further before we get into a lot of things that we want to talk about in the stream. And let's start with Sue-Ann today. And, just tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about SCAD, what you do at SCAD, and maybe about your background, both as an educator and a developer, and kind of what got you here.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to say thank you, Louis, for having me here with this amazing panel. It's been my pleasure to be able to join this conversation. I started at SCAD about 18 years ago, and I'm the chair of interactive design and game development, as well as the acting chair of immersive reality. My background goes back a while ago because, not to date myself right now, but I had the privilege of working with some of the brightest minds in computer graphics and rendering when I was studying for the research component. And it was really an eye-opener to see how much our industry has grown. In that area, I've seen so much growth of, before games and engines were such a talk of everybody, from the creative minds to the engineers. We were building a foundation of what the future of graphics and rendering would be. The last 5 years, I've been working at SCAD in the roles that I'm talking about right now as the lead for the game development department. And my role has migrated a bit to working with external partners and leveraging real-time technologies. I had the pleasure of working with conglomerates such as Amazon, Google, and Microsoft in order to build what real-time technologies is able to integrate into design thinking and solutions. And recently, again, I have the privilege to be in an amazing area where I get to work in professional organizations. Last year, I had the pleasure of working at the SIGGRAPH VR Theater Subcommittee, where we were able to see amazing works that were produced in VR and MR. And recently, I'm also joining the diversity at the Foundation of Digital Games as the diversity chair, and I continue to work in the professional area as the Visual Effects Society member.
Wow, fantastic! So, and you have a family and and do a lot of other things. So you're a busy person. Thank you. That was a great introduction. Seth, tell us a little about yourself and BYU and how long you've been there and some of the stuff you've been into.
Great. Thanks, Sue Ann, and thanks, Louis, for this opportunity. We just love working with Louis and the whole Unreal team. We've been working with them for up to 10 years now. So I teach at Brigham Young University. My background is actually in film. A long time ago, I worked at Pixar for a while, came back to teach here. And as we were getting involved in teaching kind of film production type stuff here, we actually realized the potential of Unreal and just real time in general. And at the time, I decided to help get the real time side of things going at Brigham Young University, brought Unreal Engine into things here. And since then, I've been helping run our video game capstone projects. And so when we dove into real time, we started with game projects and finally are getting it back into film just because there are so many opportunities there. So I've mostly been helping with the initiative to get students educated in both film and games using real-time software. I teach for the Center for Animation that we have here at Brigham Young University. And just enjoying that. Like I say, it's been about 10 years now.
Yeah, I remember, coming to visit you guys back in 2015, 16, and then coming back a couple times. And it's always been a treat to come visit your campus, and always been treated, very special to come visit Brigham Young University and see the student and the work and the long history you all have had, and as a school focused on super high quality animation, and then to see you bring that into real time the way you've done with such a force in Unreal Engine has been a treat. And I think it's kind of fun because Seth and Sue Ann and we always see each other at events, because I think this group, we all enter, we've all entered in the past, and I used to work with some of you all in the past competitions, and we'd always see each other at SIGGRAPHs and GDCs and everything. So it's kind of nice to be on, a platform like this again. So, but Neil, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background. We've worked together now for many years as well. Tell us a little bit about the University of Hertfordshire yourself and all the great stuff you guys are doing there.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for the honor, Lewis and Mark, for inviting me on tonight. So I started many moons ago, I think like 97 I graduated. I started at a company called Rare in England. And I was on back in the Nintendo 64 days working on the GoldenEye project. That was sort of my dip my toes, really. And I was there for 6 years working on various games. And then I switched to entertainment, video entertainment and music videos. I worked for a company called The Hive, which got bought out by Prime Focus. And that was a chance to learn all the new terminology that came with advertising and making music videos and things and film projects. And then I went down to Brighton to a company called Kuju. And a few years in, I decided my wife was doing very well in the fashion industry. And so I said, well, let's make a change and I'll try lecturing. This was like 13 years ago now. And that's been me since, really, just building up the course, the games course. And it's that's where I am today, really. Outside of lecturing, I just, this year I've been busy dipping my toes into Houdini and Blender. Because we are looking at all the new tools that are coming with Blender, and obviously the support with Unreal and Ubisoft is supporting it now. So there's quite a lot to learn there. If I'm not doing learning, then I do pick up projects wherever I can. I've got a little Unreal projects I'm trying to get off the ground at the moment, and I recently worked with a company called Rewind, a virtual reality company, doing some nice things for Red Bull and stuff. I really like 3D printing, so I'm always playing with that whenever I can get in the 3D printing room, playing around with that technology, seeing where that goes. I'm part of the Immersive UK. I'm on the chair for that. So that talks about just the future technologies that's coming with AR and VR and how that's going to shape not just the UK, but the whole world. So that's pretty interesting conversations. And just seeing what's always just keeping an eye on what's going on in forums and just learning as much as I can, really.
Fantastic. So in a little while, I'm going to encourage each one of these educators to present a little bit deeper look into their academic institutions, how they teach Unreal, how do they teach Twinmotion or Quixel, and have you take a little deeper look into how they approach that. But I think what's interesting in particular is that in yesterday's stream, we focused on the student outcomes in particular, how student groups in yesterday's stream, we looked at, let's talk about Ringling was one of the schools that was featured, University of Southern California, Guildhall, who else was in yesterday's stream? DigiPen, and I don't want to leave anyone out, FIA. And so, once again, a lot of those schools and those student groups had competed in a number of big competitions, global competitions, and did very well. But a lot of what we talked about is how you take student groups and deliver game projects, a number of which are on Steam. You can go and download those projects now and play them. And some of them, the project Guildhall did was 80 minutes of gameplay, at a very high level of polish. Ginkgo from USC is an incredibly polished game. And you're talking about students that have 1 semester, 2 semester, maybe 3 semesters to finish work at this level of quality, of course, all done in Unreal Engine with, Niagara integration, with cinematic integration. So, what you have here is educators that are taking their students and bringing them through the path of what a lot of people in enormous companies all over the world, including Boeing and GM and huge game companies are also trying to do, is bring their people into the tool set. And what they have done is they've built structured curriculums for teaching students how to do that, but also then bring that through to a way of being able to complete projects at that level of quality and then put it out and release it, in a professional way. They have incubators in their schools that teach students, but then they're also in many cases doing work in collaboration side by side with professional companies, as Sue Ann was talking about. So I want to bring a lot of that stuff up and talk about it during this, because there are plenty of people teaching Unreal. There's people that teach it on professional online learning sites like Udemy, and many of those we've had other educators on this stream talking about how they've built curriculum and they've put it on Coursera and they put it on edX. But there's really a special knack to being able to do that in 10 weeks or 16 weeks, and break it down into, what is technical art and teaching technical art? How do you integrate all the different things like Substance Designer or Houdini or these tools, and making sure that students that come in and have access in many ways to, lots of YouTube videos or these things. But, there's a lot of things that people think they know, but they come to college and they have to relearn a lot of things. And, I always used to say when I was teaching college, you can learn how to do anything, but why you have to do certain things is something that you get very specifically in university or in structured learning. Maybe we can start the conversation by that. Why do students come learn, Unreal Engine real time and the projects that they end up doing at your institutions from you?
Wants to start? Yeah. Should I just jump in?
Neil, you want to
go for it.
Yeah, I just start off by saying what we tend to do with our students is just try and work out what kind of artist or technical artist they want to be, really, and then during their 3 years that they're with us, or 4 years, really sort of encourage them to, if they want to go down the indie route, then maybe don't make like 40 minutes or ideally they want to make like a 2-hour game, but we try and say, well, let's cut it down to like, say, 15 minutes of gameplay, and off that you're probably only going to cut like 2 minutes in the trailer, and off that you're probably going to whittle it down to like a minute worth of just the action. And then hopefully if it's successful, we've got a few projects that have gone on. Little plug for Monty Berra, go and check them out, Lyra. And there was another one called Filament, that was the Unreal 4 engine, just launched the other day. That the roots of those games, they started as student projects, and they're playable, won lots of awards. There's like various competitions to enter, like the rookies. And then hopefully sometimes they can get like an Unreal development grant, and they can just about scratch a living for that year, maybe year and a half, and produce that game. And hopefully if it gets rolling, then they can go on to more titles. So yeah, but mainly I'd say most of my students are just purely building a portfolio to get into the games industry.
Because that's hard. It's hard. So many games companies in particular, but that's true in many places. They're like, well, you can't get a job until you have 2 years experience. Well, how does that even work, right? Like you have to have experience to get experience. But to be able to demonstrate that you've made a project and you've put it out and sold it on, whether Steam, and I think, at some point in the future, they'll be able to submit their games to the Epic Games Store. That is professional work. And I think that's one of the reasons why schools have incubators and have the opportunity to take these games and make sure that they have a life even after they graduate, right?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, just to add on that, we have had studios come back and say, hey, when you do those types of projects, we count that as that experience that we're looking for, because usually they're looking for maybe you've had industry experience, but the universities do also provide that experience, and they count it as such. Go ahead, Sue-Ann. Sorry.
Yeah, those are such great points. What is the aspect of practical application to the higher education learning environment? I really think that the answer that Seth and Neil gave for how we evolve curriculum based on the need and the conversation to external studios. And as Louis, you have even mentioned, Unreal is quite a large aspect to unwrap. You've compared it to either eating a elephant or going to Home Depot. There's so many elements that you can actually put forth in a curriculum to be able to teach it. So it beckons to the idea of what does higher education really want to do with such availability of technology? And I think what we started to embrace as SCAD is the idea of creating an ecosystem of both creatives, technical developers, and being able to combine that ecosphere to be able to create fully polished production at the very end. And that's always a great conversation to have, because as Seth is just mentioning, we're constantly talking to professional studios, but we're taking that experience and bringing it right into higher education in order to enrich our students. So having that power to be able to leverage the Unreal Engine to be able to be creative is an unforeseen element that we, in 10 years ago, I should say 15 years ago, that was just unheard of, because creatives now really have the pick of their litter of the creative careers that they can go into.
Yeah.
Also, just being able to engage on forums as well, just following on from that point, to engage with, because there's a lot of companies, especially the smaller companies, are just looking for people for production purposes, so they can engage, get some work experience, hopefully get an internship over the summer or even a year-long internship, and that really gets them a lot of experience. And then, so I'm always encouraging students, when they do post on forums and they're reaching out to people, is use those, what we call the vectors of dissemination, that everything points back to their main hub, whatever it's a website or ArtStation or a game that they're making, and just reaching out to people. And like Sue-Ann says, there is this great community now, and you can really tap into that. And I really encourage any student and lecturer just to go on those forums. The Unreal Forum is perfect for it.
Yeah. There's before I don't want you to lose your train of thought, Seth, but there's actually a couple of interesting questions that are coming through the chat about, do you teach your students, we'll get more into the tech a little bit later, but there's sort of, there tends to be some fairly technical people in our chat, and they're asking about whether you teach more specifically Blueprint to C++ comparison, and I know that, some of you come from, more CS background institutions versus, design art institutions, but that is a great question, because it tends to sometimes come down to that when you're talking to employers, and that division of how you focus on the particular tech related to what an employer might be looking to. As you're thinking about the discussion, would you address that question? Because I think it is fairly important.
Seth, I was going to say, adding on to what they were saying and moving into that question, we get a lot of students who come in who have been making games already, which we love. They've been in Unreal already, and that's a huge thing to build on. And yeah, we have a purpose to take that to the next level, kind of like Swiss cheese, where now they have some underlying idea of what's involved with making a game, or they've made their own little game, and there are a lot of holes to fill. So some of those things we have a specific class on, but in the matter of, say, just converting from blueprints to C++, we teach it on a need to know basis, essentially. At least that's the way we would do it, where they're in context of building a game, and it gets they learn how to throw stuff away and all that, and it gets to the point where they're ready to make a conversion, and then we'll sit down and go over that specifically, why it's needed. It's answering that why. They may never even think beforehand to make the transition, but we talk about why is this important. And then since it is a product that's going to be published, like Neil was saying, they have to make it efficient, they have to optimize, and so we do go over that stuff, but it's in a context of the overall process.
I was going to
say we do something very similar. We do teach Blueprint. And again, even though I have a computer science background, many of our students are artists and designers. So it's interesting to see that the population is starting to shift a little bit. In our graduate program, we are getting computer scientists coming in to see what the production and art side is, to see what creative applications, especially since Unreal has opened that discussion. We do teach visual scripting, primarily with Blueprint within our programs, and we heavily do that. And it's interesting that even the title of engineer for some of the game companies have switched over to some of the visual scripting roles rather than just pure on the C++ side. We do teach object-oriented programming as well, even in an art school. And I just want to put that out there, but it is not for everyone in our population.
Yeah, we have this, like you say, it's not for everyone, but we do, at second year, we start to tap into it a lot more, the blueprints and the programming. We're really lucky, we've got a guy called David Tree who runs our games and visual effects research lab. And we also have this really great guy called Ben Salmon, who's got a company called Digital Salmon, who he just likes that human contact. So he comes out of his company and just sort of mingles with the students, and hopefully, we'll find their a bit of talent and be able to work with them, and then hopefully when they graduate, they can go and work for him. So yeah, he mainly teaches the blueprints. So that's more the second year. It's where it's taught semester A and then goes in a lot more depth in semester B. I'm more from a creative arts background, so that's mainly what I teach. But I do touch, if the cohort would like it at level 1, I do go into a tiny bit, not too much, just the basics of opening doors and elevators and switching lights on and off, and just they can make their stuff a little bit interactive, but nothing to the depths that David or Ben will do.
I was just going to make a couple of points or ask questions. The first point I think a lot of people need to understand, if they're not necessarily from a programming background, is programming is really creative as well, and it's really useful for programmers to understand design processes and the way in which designers think. And the other thing that I would say is, amongst these 3 revered institutions, it's not necessarily just a siloed department or course which is doing excellent creative work. I think it overflows throughout a lot of different departments in your universities. Do you find that actually helps with everything else happening, the fact you have other departments who are feeding in creativity?
Yeah. You just gave my upcoming presentation. So that was...
Oh, no!
Spoiler.
No, this is good. It's actually a really good question. In our case, yes. We are actually just trying to fit like an animation and film and video games program into kind of a general education system that BYU has, and so and that prevents us from doing certain things, but it also does have lots and lots of departments. So in our case, that does become a strength to say let's reach out and pull in different skill sets. And that way, not everybody doesn't have to focus on everything, but also it lets the students share knowledge with each other. The people coming from the illustration department or from the computer science department actually have to talk to each other and show each other how to do just what needs to be done. So it is an advantage in that sense.
We're probably coming in a little bit in the converse end. As an art and design school. So most of our majors are more dedicated to more visual design and art design. So the interesting aspect is internally within SCAD, my department is known as the technical / engineering students. So they reach out to us for the technical aspects, but externally we've collaborated with other schools and other programs that are more heavily computer science. It really feeds extremely well to have that larger perspective, because the convergence of the technology, especially where Unreal is sitting, we see where our architecture department is starting to reach out, particularly for Twinmotion. We see where product design, industrial design has been coming into some of our classes because they understand what real-time technology and visualization can be able to produce and help with their design processes. So at that nexus, it's interesting that we do find really good common ground to produce and discuss. So I think that is the big thing in the last few years that we saw. There's open discussion where it's easier for that barrier to be removed.
Mm. Yeah, and actually Neil said something that I wanted to touch on as next point is that he was talking about when Unreal Engine is integrated into a student's time at school, and I wanted to talk about that because we frequently get folks that attend this stream that maybe are thinking about integrating, or maybe even come from departments that are not sure, when to introduce students to Unreal Engine or Twinmotion or whatever the case is. And what we've discovered in talking to academic institutions, that they're starting to introduce Unreal Engine much earlier in a student's time at a school, particularly in thinking about the projects that we saw yesterday that come out at such a high quality. It used to be, and when I was teaching, if you introduced Unreal Engine, which is such a massive tool and only getting bigger when a student's a junior in college or whatever the case is in their third year, they have a lot to learn if they're going to start a project at the end of their junior year. And so learning something as potentially involved as Unreal and then trying to do a project at the same time can be a tremendous amount, a huge undertaking. So we're finding more institutions bringing it much earlier in their academic introduction to something like that. How about you guys? What is the situation at your institutions? Are you bringing it earlier? Are you bringing it into the sophomore, freshman years, the first, second years? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Shall I go? In our course, I talk about it a bit in my presentation bit, but it's the first year we introduce lots of different software, but mainly just getting them used to 3D software. And then semester B, after Christmas, that's where we start to look into more Unreal. And then level 2, second year, so that's where we go into a lot more depth, all the production processes for professional games creation. And then level 3, it's a little bit more hands-off, and it's more making them come up with their documents, their design documents, and doing their research and development, and then moving forward to producing a final major project. They do a final major project at their second year, and normally they're really creative and over-ambitious, and then they sort of learn from their mistakes, and then come into their final year, they sort of cut back a little bit and make it a little bit more focused. But I'd never discourage them from going crazy, because you never know. They sometimes make it.
Yeah, so initially we started Unreal being the core element of our capstone projects, but it does leak more and more into earlier and earlier classes, even if it's not an Unreal class. So say, for example, we have a shading and texturing class, and we found that when they learn to texture something, say in Substance Painter, the students want to just output it from Substance because they've spent some time in there and they've made it look good just to see how the texture is going to look. And since it already looks good, it's just easiest to say, that's what I want to show off. And when we say, no, move it into any other software, whether it be Unreal or Houdini or whatever, they can start pulling their hair out a little bit, not because it's not easy to get it into the other software, but because there's a transition and there's a bigger context to get it into. And it's just easiest to say, it's done in Substance, it's good to go. And we love Substance, but we've brought Unreal into the shading class to say, yeah, you have to bring this over into this greater context. And they find that there's more power to that. They learn more about the overall process from the complexity of having multiple levels of the pipeline approach that way. And so we do get Unreal involved earlier in classes simply because it gives a bigger context and gives them more options as far as creating something that looks nice.
I think that's a good way to put it. The context, or in general, the physically based environment that Unreal provides is, I think, very helpful. I'm sorry, Sue Ann, you wanted to chime in.
I didn't start anything, but I did want to write on exactly what Neil and Seth have been saying. We have actually brought it earlier for both the game development program as well as the immersive reality. The reason for that is we're starting to introduce it in the late freshman year and early sophomore year, particularly because of the multiple career paths have opened up. So that really in the junior year, we're expecting them to specialize. And we also open quite a few electives in order to strengthen their core knowledge. So including the areas that Seth is mentioning from substance designer, real-time material shaders, particles, a little bit more gameplay scripting. That would be fantastic, because without that understanding core knowledge of Unreal, we really can't go to the higher levels. And really in our capstones, in our senior classes, we're hoping to take advantage of this earlier knowledge base. So moving it earlier has been extremely helpful for the end results. Similarly, we're seeing, high school students starting to dabble a little bit. And what we see is that it's a faster ability to have common languages, ability to understand common development environments, so that ability to create more competitive results really results from the earlier adoption. And same thing with our graduate program. We're starting to look into people who have real-time understanding already for the application, but not necessary, but we're looking into it.
That's great. And I wanted to touch on another point that you made, Sue Ann, which is that you talk about how there are other departments at Savannah College of Art and Design that have started sending students to your department to get some Unreal training, and I know that is things that we talk to other academic institutions about, right? So, maybe it's an architecture department or design department that maybe don't have their own Unreal Engine courses, or are thinking about real-time and Unreal Engine courses. Are you all finding a situation where there are other departments that are, could be the film department, we're talking to schools that have transportation design departments that are looking for ways to start bringing their students into real-time or Unreal Engine, because the tool set is just so vast. We had a stream a couple of weeks ago about motion graphics, and Unreal does amazing motion graphics, and so but however, it can take a little bit of time to develop full curriculums inside of Unreal Engine for motion graphics or transportation design or architecture or the many things. Are you finding that you're having to create larger classes or cross-list classes with other departments to get them some Unreal Engine training?
Yes. I mean, in a nutshell, absolutely yes. It's interesting in the last years that our classes, is particularly for the ones teaching blueprints, more interactive components of the engine, have really been requested. So more sections have opened up. That goes, same thing. I'm actually going to cover a little bit of this later on in the presentation, but I'll be able to touch on it right now. The departments from architecture, product design, themed entertainment, most recently, which was kind of surprising, just because I expect a delay between when, Louis, you give a talk and a presentation about Unreal, and about a quarter or two, we're on a quarter system as SCAD, for that news to permeate the community, and then I would get a response and a request. But that was almost immediately. So from advertising coming in to say that we're already talking about how to integrate a course that utilizes Unreal Engine, to themed entertainment saying, this is so profound, I want to talk to my dean, a faculty from the themed entertainment program, saying, I want to talk to my dean on how much we can expand this. And just going off that note, even the last 2 years, our external projects with partners, particularly ones that are not in entertainment media, have come in to say, well, how can we take advantage and send people, professionals, as continued education? We've enrolled a few of the gentlemen from Gulfstream in 1 or 2 of our classes, just to be able to, really take the educational level to the next level. Because as much as we do encourage them to go to the YouTube sites, Unreal educational sites, it's, as you said, it's the practice that makes the difference, and that's where the retainment occurs. So having to answer that in a nutshell, absolutely yes.
I'm just seeing a really interesting question here from one of our participants. In terms of curriculum, this is something which I'm sure you've all seen in universities for everybody here who's watching. Regarding curriculum changes and validation, it takes time. How do you keep up with the rapid changes? I mean, it's something which obviously, Sue-Ann, you've managed to do, but it's something which a lot of universities struggle with. Myself in the past, it's taken me a year maybe to change some modules. Is it something that you've managed to re-educate your management teams to actually be able to allow you to rescope and change what's happening with curriculum?
Yeah, we're pretty easy with changing, as long as we stay within the boundary of the what we call the design module document, the DMD. We can tailor it a little bit to industry needs. Working with industry as well, that sometimes you can see what the needs are. I mean, at the moment, it seems to be very visual effects heavy, the need. But also just collaborating with we had like an Airbus 380 project, like a live project. So that was interesting. So the whole aeronautic side of things. Then we had McLaren and Bentley talking about their car design and how much they're doing with Unreal 4. So that suddenly opens up the whole automotive side of things. And all these other industries. It's amazing how it's difficult not to want to expand and do all these courses in these separate areas. I think we're at a stage where we're going to have to start thinking we are starting 2 new BAs. But it's you could quite easily do like 10 BAs, one in like automotive, one in medical visualization, AR, VR. You could easily do one in that. So, but it's like you've got to keep a lid on it. And so at the moment, it's staying within games art and design. But I can imagine the language is so new for games art that when I go down to film, for example, I look around. They've got this lovely £4 million suite, and I think, oh, that's lovely. Games actually makes more than film and music put together. So can I get some of that tech? But it's just because the language is so new to games. I think that people are still sort of like very much learning about it, and we're still coming up with our own language and terminology for a lot of the things.
Yeah, along those lines, we don't try to chase everything. We try to do fewer things well than try to chase everything. But it is slowly expanding, just based on how we're able to change resources. What we do, though, is we do keep track of what is changing, and the newer principles and skill sets. And if we don't immediately get that like into a class or whatever, we do let students know what the latest is, and they go out and look for resources in order to keep up. There's a lot of good resources to that. So some stuff, say I learn, some stuff I point them to the resources.
Yeah, we do very much the same thing. It's kind of a double-edged sword. As much as we can adapt very quickly, in any kind of academic environment, there is a slow down of how to push through a full curriculum. We do have a system in order to accommodate the adaptation and the speed. We do introduce extra electives to help with the gap of knowledge. We introduce minors. For example, even just this morning, we were in a leadership council talking about how to add in a virtual production minor and possibly a digital lighting minor. I mean, these are conversations we constantly have in order to engage. We talk to the studios, we talk to other academic professionals like this panel right now that we have, and we really try to share and see what is working with each of the universities. But slowly we introduce it until it becomes adopted into our full curriculum and becomes a requirement should that be the case. But we're always navigating and trying to figure out what is the best pathway to advise for a career for our students.
That's a really good point, Sue. If I could just carry on with that, you mentioned the electives. I think for anyone who's listening who might be a lecturer, it's a great little thing where you can, if you got like what we call if anyone's from outside of education on this talk, you have these things called credits. So each credit is worth 10 hours of work. So if you have a 30 credit module, 300 hours, you can break those down. And like you say, you can do like a 4, 5, 6 credit module on something, and you could pull in a visiting lecturer who is a specialist in virtual production or medical visualization or whatever. So that's a really good point. And I'd encourage any lecturer out there to see if there's any areas that they can sort of break down their bigger bigger briefs into smaller little electives. Yeah, good point.
So I have a whole lot more questions that I have written down to ask you, but I think if we get into them right now, we're not going to get a chance to see all the goodies that you all have prepared for us. So I encourage that we jump in and let you all present the material that you've presented, and then see what time we have afterwards to get into some of this great material. So how's that sound to you all?
Great.
Thumbs up?
Sounds great.
So Anne, how about we start with you?
Okay. I'm just going to get a share screen going. Give me 1 second to output.
Sure.
Here we go. All right. Can everybody see the PowerPoint beginning for SCAD Game Dev?
Yep.
Excellent. All right. So now that we talked a little bit about what are some of our values, I just want to give an overview of what the SCAD game development environment really is like. As mentioned, we are a dual track program in the School of Digital Media, and we heavily utilize Unreal Engine as well as Quixel, and we're looking into adopting Twinmotion for some of our external disciplines within other schools. Just to give a quick outline, there's 5 majors that's already extensively using the Unreal Engine in their courses, as well as having lessons and teaching opportunities open to it. That's in our game development department, as well as our immersive reality, where we're teaching MR and AR, VR. visual effects have been the spearheading some of the efforts going into virtual production, live compositing using Unreal Engine. So there's a lot of great efforts on that department with the adoption of Unreal Engine. And just to summarize quickly, animation, sound design, they all been really offering new courses. I believe sound design just put up a really spatial immersive sound design course, again, teaching through Unreal Engine. So we're seeing larger growth from the discussion to our larger ecosphere within SCAD. Just to give everybody who's not familiar with SCAD an idea, we have over 42 majors that's dedicated to art and design. So other majors that have started to really engage with using Unreal Engine are architecture, themed entertainment design, and film and television. And as mentioned in the earlier conversation, we also have a few departments in conversation from advertising design and industrial design talking about it. We've even had one student from fashion coming to engage us. Before I give an example of some of the larger applications, I'm going to dial it back and just purely concentrate on what my department is doing with Unreal Engine. And for interactive design and game development, just context, we do offer undergraduate and graduate degrees in BA, BFA, MA, and MFA. We are on a quarter system, but we have 3 campuses from Savannah, Atlanta to an online program. Our online program has actually existed for over 16 years, and we have been able to teach the same technologies online as well. To any educators out there thinking about how to structure their curriculum, that was really a great way to segue to some of the things I wanted to highlight in this presentation. The structure that we have created within the SCAD game development department is that idea of an overall vision and a holistic balance. The 3 subcategories that I'm showing right now is the idea of how holistically we can actually produce great, excellent end products at the end of the senior level or the graduate level. And the categories are game art, game design, and game tech. So the areas we can hope to actually expand in some of the subcategories, like we were talking about substance design or even photogrammetry, those are areas that we will actually put in growing those subsections. What you'll notice is that the area that I have right now, I say 3 with a little bit plus concentrations, because as mentioned earlier, we're really a dual track program. So I'm not going to talk too much on the interactive design side, but we do have a second side that is more on the user experience. I'm working with physical computing and research to enhance any of our technology products and designs. What I am going to focus on today more is on the game development department and how it works and integrates with the larger system that we have for curriculum. Just to emphasize, because we have 42 majors within the school, it really allows great conversations because we also have minor programs that allows a student to, if a student is not quite fully attached to a specific career path, if they want to mark their own individual goals in the future, we have minor programs that complement our game design, which is in animation, sound design, and as just mentioned, user experience design. But just to give a larger view, we also have sequential art. So we have concept art for games, illustration, technical direction, and it really enhances the way our students work because it creates a larger discussion of where Unreal Engine is able to leverage and help us grow as an institution, but also allow our students to be much more focused in their career paths. The following areas, I'm just going to mention a little bit about the highlights because it piggybacks off of the earlier idea of the 3 buckets: game art, game design, and game tech. So just to emphasize is that what's making us tick is as much as we're embracing technology and embracing the Unreal Engine for all of its amazing vast possibilities, is that we are also making sure that our courses really concentrate on the other elements of game development. For example, in our environment art courses, we are trying to go beyond. We are teaching students how to create, appropriate workflows and create optimized assets and props. But what we really want to also do in environments, add on how that supports the game narrative and other design features. So we want to add in more on storytelling, art direction, and again, lighting and focus on how the end product of a game can be enhanced. Similarly, again, just to talk about the other elements we're bringing into some of our courses are the larger art and design principles. For character art, we are really heavily on ZBrush, digital sculpting, but it's not just the learning the software, because yes, it is very important that our future creatives understand software knowledge. We're adding in the artistry of what about anatomy? How does anatomy come into for character art? How about the transition between a 2D concept to a 3D creation? And again, as you can see for this example, there's a bit more storytelling. So it's not just the craftsmanship alone, but it is the pure artistry of what the program is trying to produce for our end students going out into the industry. And readily we admit that we need to be growing all of the time. So, we're thinking about how to expand our curriculum. As mentioned earlier, even though we have that 3 pillars, how do we actually grow it even more? A digital lighting minor would be really helpful because, again, how we understand how diverse and complex the skill sets of our artists can be as we, break it down and funnel it down to more focused career paths. So areas in these art areas, we are trying to grow as much as possible. We do bring in mentors as well. So the conversation is constant with our alumni group, as well as professional mentors from studios that will come in to talk on these supplemental topics in a program that we run called Game Developers Exchange. Going forward, and Louis, you may actually have to, I think our roles may be reversed today. You may have to pull the plug on me if I'm going too long. So just to enhance on the other arcs of what we're doing, our students are really taking advantage of the different categories that we've broken up our curriculum. But to give a better insight of how this works, students are being introduced to the Unreal Engine and everything in the in the last quarters of their freshman year and sophomore year. But in their sophomore year, we do want them to survey all the possibilities, because as much as we are fans of games, sometimes our fanship may not always lead us to the precise identification of what we are talented in. So we ask them to take courses in game design, and just to give an extension of how we are growing our program, as much as we're talking about the earlier aspects of game design and level design, we're starting to expand into creating courses on game systems, game simulations, adding in courses, again, more on advanced blueprints for gameplay scripting. So there's a whole aspect that we're trying to bridge. So we're always growing our program. So there's no such thing as for all educators out there as this is where it stops. Just like Unreal is always offering us new opportunities to add new features into our curriculum, we're always growing with the demands. The third category that we do actually have within our program is game tech. It has been a paramount effort within our program to note that we are not just creating beautiful environments. We want to be the full spectrum to be able to teach game tech. This is where most heavily our blueprint classes are in. We have possibly right now at least 4 in the undergraduate level and at least 2 to 3 in the graduate level. That includes, how we are offering real-time particles and effects, case and example being shown right now as one of the videos. But we also are extending to substance designer with shaders and real-time shaders and materials. So we offer all of those classes within the program. Before my time runs out, I'm going to move on to the other larger picture of SCAD and talk a little bit about the SCAD Pro Innovation Studios. You might have heard me mentioning it earlier on, and this is a lot of the opportunities I personally was able to engage with our external partners. SCAD Pro is a collaborative innovation studio that connects our students to work with world-leading companies, and we provide design solutions to real-world challenges. In many of the aspects, we are trying to figure out where the curriculum really continues on their capstones. We are teaching them development methodologies from Scrum to Agile methodologies, but we're also trying to create a higher presence of what it means to be in a professional environment. In order to qualify for SCAD Pro, a student has to be actually at a 3.5 GPA in order to be able to participate in the projects. So just to give you an idea how this has increased with our understanding of Unreal Engine needs, many of the insights has been provided by such projects. For example, product visualization. This is one of the projects that where our clients came in and asked us to create a visualization of a product that has features that are difficult to identify with just a basic image. You really have to experience it. So what we've been able to do, and this is a project we both use UA4 in as well as Quixel. Just to actually go on to this area, I'm sorry, my headphone is falling off at this moment. I apologize. Just to extend on our SCAD Pro projects, we've been able to, I'm sorry, I have to go back one slide just to give an idea of what the projects are. We are working closely with our partners to be able to really get into how design and technology integrates together. So as mentioned, we are creating experiences that go beyond just the basic simple translation of what the object is from basic designs and schematics. We are adding in much more to the design prompt, where you can see our students actually visit and intensely communicate with our clients. We go on site. We really learn about what their problem identifications are, and then we figure out what technology solutions will be able to be used and capitalized in that experience. I'm going to go back to the slides quickly. All right, so going forward, I want to show a quick clip on this experience. Okay, I'm going to move a little bit faster on the talk. Just to emphasize the process, we've been able to have great opportunities moving forward to other virtual production environments as well. This actually made the connection of the conversation of why virtual production. Obviously, we're all wowed by the virtual production efforts that's been created by The Mandalorian, and also all of the other studios that are employing virtual production. But as far as the educational community, it is still a growing conversation. But through these projects, again, we were able to really leverage and be able to see what is coming up in the future. This particular project was creating a 360 live render virtual set with Unreal Engine. And our students do have some time for fun. So I just want to actually include some of the innovative areas that our students are working on. So this is a project that is not from SCAD Pro, but I just want to emphasize that how much our students embrace and how much actually increasing the earlier adoption of Unreal Engine has led to projects like this one. And this is only possible because the students are learning the technical barrier, overcoming the technical barriers in their earlier years from freshman to sophomore. So this is a project that was created actually by two students. The primary is Chris Chonaki, and it's a real-time piano animation that was mocapped. And I'll let the actual video speak for itself. Hopefully it's not coming off too laggy. Louis, is it coming out okay, or should I turn it over to you?
I didn't get audio. We didn't get audio on the last one, so at least I don't think so.
Could you play the next one in that case?
Yes, and it is. So, what is the name of the video? It is.
And for Isles.
Sure. You ready for it?
Yes.
Gorgeous.
Thank you, Louis. That was the piano player was also one of our students, and he is part of the team that was creating it. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Bradley Pajala on that. Was a really great project, and it shows the breadth of the talent of the students in our program right now. Moving forward, I'm going to quickly talk about how we've been also utilizing the Unreal Engine for themed entertainment experiences. This is a project that was a collaboration with over 5 departments of the university. What we did was create a premiere experience where the visitors as SCAD students would be able to, SCAD potential students would be able to go into a mixed reality environment. They would engage almost like a theme entertainment ride you would find at Disney or Hollywood studios, where they would be greeted by actors, give the storytelling, and then go into a virtual environment and go into an undersea dive and be able to look for in the story, as well as see what the hidden treasures are in the underneath bellies of Savannah. This project was a collaboration of 5 departments from the game development department, sound design, theme entertainment, motion media design, and performing arts. All of the pictures you're seeing, particularly in the middle, all of our students. And it really, again, shows that how much Unreal was able to speed up our production. This was created in about 20 weeks, where the different departments were able to ideate, and the actual implementation of the project, I really should say, was only about 13 weeks because it took a while for us to be able to find the story and find the tempo. Going onward, I'm going to also quickly show the video for Tahul on how we're engaging in the immersive reality department as well. One of the aspects that Unreal Engine has really been able to help us with is the development of the VR experiences. And it's coming to light right now just how complex that AR and VR, as well as the MR community really is for experiential design. What we're seeing is that much of the game development principles has started to lend over to immersive efforts. And rather than, talking about it. Actually, I'm going to stop share for 1 second because I would like to talk over the video. So pardon me. Louis, how am I doing on time?
Well, you're probably out, but I'll give you a few more minutes.
All right, I'll wrap up, I promise. Okay, I'll do this very quickly.
You want me to play it, or you got it?
I got it.
Okay.
I want to just talk over this video. The interesting aspect is that we were asked to create an experience that was a 5-minute play environment for the VR theater for SIGGRAPH. Most of the participants coming in are not VR practitioners, or may sometimes never have opened up or experienced a VR headset. So the idea is to create a lobby or housed experience in the VR theater before the selected works was able to be shown. That was an interesting learning environment for our students. This project is on Steam and is downloadable, but due to the pandemic, what we saw is a lot of conversion to the possibility of using it more as a playbill because we were not able to show this live in the SIGGRAPH environment. But the students collaborated and worked a lot to really engage in the prompt, as well as create innovative interactions within the VR environment. All right, I'm going to end on my last one. I'll go quickly through this. Our senior collaboration is usually 7 to 20 students. It's about 20 weeks, and the goal is to create a fully playable games. We do actually take advantage of all of the myriad of creative talents that we have, from concept artists to visual designers, storytellers, dramatic writing, animators, etc. So you can see some of the quick progress. We do actually have a lot of great talents. This was done again. Half the time was done remotely because we switched over to remote and virtual teaching right in March. And going quickly on that, I'm going to end today with the video actually, I'm going to ask Lewis to help me again with the video for Zoeli UHD. That's the final one I will show as my wrap up. And this, again, really is a testament of what our collaboration environment and results are for the game development program.
Zoeli UHD.
Let me tell you a story. One of adventure, about a brave little sister and her magic quilt sueño that helped her achieve whatever she put her mind to, and the great journey they both went on to find what she missed more than anything in the world. The adventure was unforgettable. Climbing to the tallest peaks, clambering across rooftops, riding to distant islands, and overcoming fearsome foes by cleverness or sneakiness. But I wouldn't be going alone. Let's check that island over there. I met a cat that helped me find my strength. I'm gonna call you Chonkers.
I resent that.
And a bird that helped me find my way. Thanks, Patty. Goodbye. Together, we overcame even the toughest obstacles in our own way. To get back to you, sister.
I'll end my talk on that note, but that is a fully playable game prototype with about 30 minutes of content. And if anybody would be interested in further discussion, this is my contact. My department's contact is SCAD ITGM, and my contact is on there as well. So that's it. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry for going over.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right. That was fantastic. And we'll probably reserve some questions for Sue Ann and the rest of the group until the end of the stream. But while we are at it, Seth, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I'm going to share my screen here in a second.
All right.
Lewis, the audio is still playing from Zoeli.
Is it playing on your presentation by chance, Sue Ann? No, right? No, she's muted.
I'll exit out, so just to make sure.
It was actually my fault.
Uh-huh.
I had just shared it in the stream.
Thanks for the panic.
I'm sorry. I was sharing with the folks here, and it was auto playing. I didn't realize it was in another tab.
Mark wanted to have a say there.
Not bad.
Whenever you're ready, Seth, we're ready to go.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you, Sue Ann. I love seeing all that. I've always been super impressed by what SCAD does. We run into them fairly often, and just, yeah, super impressed by them. And the list of schools that were involved in the stream yesterday, that's a top-notch list of schools there. I know SCAD's
We're super
there.
impressed, with everyone's work. It's just really remarkable.
Yeah, I love seeing all this stuff. So thank you for sharing. So I just want to talk a little bit about BYU and our experience with Unreal, and just maybe some even things that would be helpful for anyone learning Unreal Engine just in general. If we get this going. So hopefully you're seeing this. This is a picture of Brigham Young University. We're tucked in the Rocky Mountains, and I tried to find a picture of the green time of year. This is spring where we're at. You still see some snow in the mountains, but this is where I teach. It's got a beautiful campus.
So ugly. I don't get it.
So I want to just share a little bit about how we're set up. And so let's see, switch over here. So our animation program is actually a bachelor's degree. And like I was saying earlier, we're in a university that actually has a lot of general requirements. So students who go here have to take English classes and history classes and math classes, and just a broad variety, art classes. And then we have our animation program within that. And so it's actually a 3-year major. So students in our program do get to take a lot of animation classes. But those classes are fit within a good number of other classes too. So just a general overview. Sophomore year, students come in, and they have to be accepted to the program. It's a small program. We have about 100 students overall in various years. But in the sophomore year, they'll go over general foundational content, learning how to model, texture, tell story, do figure drawing, learn real-time stuff, and so on and so forth. In their junior year, they take some more specialized classes. And then in their senior year, they're taking a capstone project. That's the core element of their senior year, to build a game or to build a film. And so I want to talk a little bit about how Unreal fits into that. So just a little bit of background about why we do what we do. So 10 years ago, when I started teaching here, I had a group of 3 students who wanted to get involved on games. And at that point, we were only making films as a capstone project, but they're pretty passionate about making games. They did have some background in general computer animation skills, computer graphics skills for productions. And they came to me and said, we really want to make games. And I was keeping an eye on the industry and seeing that real time is one of the forthcoming elements of the industry. If you ever wow, 20 years ago, there was a ton of progress in computer graphics and in film and Jurassic Park and all these films that were coming out. Computer graphics was huge. What's huge about it now, and real time is the big current thing and up and coming thing in both film and games. And so I was like, yeah, we should probably start supporting this. So we looked around at different softwares to help provide the right experience for them. And Unreal Engine was on number 3. I can't actually remember what they called it. I don't think it was called UE3. But anyway, Unreal Engine 3.
UDK.
Yeah, UDK. That's right. And it was not an easy software to use back then. A very powerful software, but not necessarily easy to get into, at least from our perspective. And nowadays, they've made it a lot more accessible, but they've also kept the power. But I said, here's a software you should use because it's deep and because it's not easy necessarily. There were some things that were good and easy about it, but in general, not easy to use. So you're going to have to dive deep. And I handed them some of the resources that had provided and some books and said, there you go. I can tell you some stuff about making games, but just dive in. And they dove in, and they just were totally willing to get in and solve problems and figure out the software and figure out the node networks. And those students were just like they snapped up jobs so easy, so quick. And part of that's some knowledge of Unreal Engine, and some of that's just because they were willing to get into something that was deep. And we continue to keep that idea alive in the way that we approach our assignments. And I'm seeing this in the other assignments that we're seeing from like the presentation from SCAD. Solving interesting problems, doing hard themes, and then opening up great opportunities that way. So we continue to do a team project every year. That project grew to a yearly thing because they were so successful at that. And our team projects, our capstone projects, tend to have about 10 to 15 students on it. So it is a pretty big project. But because of the university context that our students are in order to specialize, they have to get into a project and just dive in really deep, and then depend on other students to dive in deep into their area, and then learn how to communicate between the different students. And that's a lot what we focus on today. So faculty, we mentor on the projects, but we let students lead the project. So they're doing anything from directing the project all the way down, which I think is a common theme, particularly in master's programs. But this is a bachelor's program that we do this in. So Lewis, would you mind playing the video? I think it's called BYU Unreal demo.
You ready?
And yeah, let's look at that.
Here it goes.
So this is just an example of some of the projects that have been made over the years, a few of the projects. And every year students get to vote on the project that they build. And then no matter what they voted on, they rally around one project and make that project. So this one's called Knockback. It's like a first-person shooter, but like, I'm just spacing the name of the game. You're just trying to knock people off the arena. And then here's another game called Beatboxers. So they're focusing on technical elements, artistic elements, just the whole breadth of the game making experience. And again, trying to play to each other's strengths. This final project is called Adaptation. And students with the BASI were just trying to achieve a look that, like, what if you're a pirate but you're in the undergrowth? What does that feel like to be in the undergrowth? And UE4 was a big help in helping them accomplish that.
Back to you.
Okay, thank you. So that's just some examples of what students have been building.
Amazing.
There. Thank you. So, like I was saying earlier, because we have an animation program, and in animation may be a bit of a misnomer because it's just in general, it's just general media creation, but on the computer graphics side of things. So it's about content creation, but we decided we wanted to take advantage of having multiple different fields of study in our university. And so when we get to the capstone element, we essentially invite other university departments to tell their students about what we're doing, and if they're interested, they come talk to us and they get involved just by talking to us. And so we've had people from their computer science department, from our animation department, from our illustration department, commercial music, instructional design, which involves people studying user experiences, media arts. One year we had psychology involved, which was a really fun experience. And usually these other students from other departments and programs, they usually just see what we're doing in the news or whatever, and say, hey, I'm interested in doing that, and then they come talk to us. Or we'll reach out to their faculty, and their faculty will say, hey, we love what you're doing with capstone projects, let's get some of our students involved. And so we do get a lot of departments involved. And honestly, one of the ways that we make this super successful is by saying, okay, now you all have to talk to each other, and you all have to be able to work together in the same system. And we get them all in the same room. Not so much now with COVID, but we get them all in the same room, looking at the same project, looking at the same. My mind is going blank today. Subversion system, and they all look at it and work in it together. And I have a mantra that I tell them, and that mantra is just get into the engine. No matter what you're doing, get into the engine. If you're doing music, you're getting into the engine. If you're doing illustration, you're getting into the engine. At first, you may not be in the real-time engine, but ultimately, like if you're doing illustration, you're doing concept art, you are not only doing like paint overs and stuff, but you're doing skyboxes, trying to get them involved in things that say, okay, I understand this process and I can iterate faster. We once had someone who was creating a skybox. They were from the illustration department and they were creating skyboxes. And it was a 4-day turnaround for them to hand it off and say, hey, can you know the engine? Can you put this in? And then we said, actually, you should probably be doing this. And then it was like a 10-minute turnaround, right? Instead of 4 days. And so they're starting to learn how to look at their own stuff in the context of everybody else's stuff. And we've really pushed that element of our program. So we do use like a Scrum type model in order to communicate and to do reviews and so on and so forth when we're doing these sort of things. So we do have students specialize in different areas. So we have a student director, producer, design lead. We have engineers, and we have some of those engineers who are interested in prototyping and design. We have concept artists, character artists, environment artists, all of the above. But we don't have different tracks for these things. And so as they're specializing in their junior year, they kind of keep an eye on what they'd be interested in, but then they really specialize on a project. And this also goes along with the way that we have to approach things, in the sense that if you want to learn something, definitely like take a class on it, but also just get involved on a project. So even if I'm just starting to learn Unreal, our advice is find a small project and start making that, start building it, and don't try to learn everything now. Learn what you need to know as you go along, and then your knowledge will just gradually grow.
Yeah.
And then if I want to be like a character artist, I'm also talking to environment artists. I'm also talking to riggers and animators, and I'm having to dive into these things. So your knowledge expands also as you get involved with other people. So you may want to just get started building your own thing, but as you're able to expand, get involved in these projects that, like what Sue-Ann's showing, what Neil's been talking about.
There's nothing like having a problem to solve for, isn't there?
Yeah. It's super motivating. And it gives you a focus. Otherwise, you scatter and try to learn everything at once, and then you're just all over the place. So that's just a little word of advice. So here's the picture of our team. There are a lot of opportunities that students get into going through these kind of projects. Here's a picture of our students at E3, which is a competition that happens in the United States. So they've been at some fun competitions. That's where we've met some people from SCAD and other places too. They get hired at really good studios, and also we try to send them off to other programs. Like they come into our program and they fill in holes of knowledge and they get good experience here, and we tell them to go to say SCAD and other places to continue that education until they're super ready. It's just the more you're building games, the better off you'll be. And it doesn't just have to be games. We'll talk about that in a minute, but what Sue-Ann showed, just the real-time applications, awesome stuff to get involved in. So all of this team has been involved in some really good projects. So So just, again, ways that we approach things, and you don't have to come to BYU to do these things. Just dive into Unreal Engine like we've been talking about. When you dive into a project, you want to have a plethora of valuable resources, and that's another reason why we've loved Unreal. They're super interested in putting out content. There's great third-party content out there that you want to look at. Great content coming from Epic Games. Just the content that you get from the free resources that they put, the games that they've made, that now you just have access to those resources and just start messing around with those and building games out of the resources they've gotten. That's super valuable. Like I've said, you can't teach everything in a university, but you can have a goal and reach out to the resources that you have and learn a ton that way. So we just try to provide tons of resources, like we did with that first group that we had, trying to provide a lot of resources. So we do teach a lot of principles. We make sure to really hone in on principles. We also teach technical skills, and here's how you use blueprints, and here's how you convert blueprints to C++. We get into that stuff, but we also try to just teach higher level principles and say, if you're applying this principle, dive into the resources and just dig deeper. So again, learning how to learn, that's a huge thing nowadays, wherever you're at. Just make sure that you're learning how to learn, not that you have to have someone feed you everything. Depend on each other, depend on your peers to learn. Like I say, it's just the fact that a computer scientist is working with an illustration major and saying, oh, here's how you get into the engine and just make your thing show up and work, you become super valuable. Same theme, just solving interesting problems. I heard Sue-Ann say that they're doing that there. Yeah, get involved in a place that you could be solving interesting problems. Don't take the easy path. The easy path is nice. Like I say, nowadays, UE4 is super accessible. Yeah, take advantage of that, but then dive deep. What you're doing. Find the interesting, don't run from the interesting problem, and be willing to throw things away. That's what I love about Unreal. I'm going to actually just switch over really quick, just so you can see Unreal live. But this is the current game project that our students can see. Can you see the Unreal Engine now? I can't remember if I shared my full screen. I'm in Unreal now.
No, we're still getting your slide presentation.
Okay, let me hop out of here really quick.
We are actually getting quite a bit of lag and buffering with the stream this evening. I'm not sure why.
It just started, so the internet, I think, is going a little slow.
Here, should be able to see it. And that's okay if it's laggy. I just figured you just see Unreal Engine once in my presentation here. But this is the current game. And so everyone hopefully has had to build a white box version of their game and then throw it away. I love seeing the final product. I love seeing the game just, where it's at with all its blueprints and such. This is the point where students are in the blueprints, and I actually make them throw it all away at some point, and hopefully multiple times. And that's one of the beauties of UE4, is that you can go in, use the blueprints, just mess around with it, try some stuff, get a game working on a very rough level, and then say, hey, we're ready to just start throwing art assets in there, try it out, see what it looks like. Then we can throw it all away, and you can put it into C++ or build a more object-based blueprint system. Like the Unreal Engine has been super flexible for us to do these sort of things. We love. Okay, I'm back to my presentation. Hopefully you're seeing that. If you're not seeing it,
we're seeing it.
Okay, and I just had some examples. I'm almost done here, but just some interesting problems that our students have been able to solve in Unreal. One student wanted to put crowds in, and they put, I think, 15 crowd members in there, and it started to lag. And then they dug deeper into the Unreal system, and it let them have thousands of crowd systems. But it also let them dive into a hard, interesting problem and say, yeah, we want thousands, but we don't want it to lag, but we got to get all the work. They made it work. Here is a test. So they just took a bunch of elements, threw them in there, and said, okay, let's get crowds working. Unreal, we had another student who actually was doing lighting and film. And we said, hey, we need a lighter for a film project, for a game project. Do you want to build the lighting in the real-time system? Because they weren't using real-time in that current film. And they said, sure. And then they got a super easy, they got a job in the games industry just by saying, okay, we tried doing this real-time. We know a lot about lighting. We tried it real-time. Hey, all of a sudden a bunch of doors open up. So that was great. I'll skip that one. And then just where we're going, we do like to focus on doing something high quality to open up opportunities and then slowly expand from there. We actually are now using Unreal Engine to lay out our films, to do pre-visualization of our films. We are getting Unreal Engine more into our foundational classes, like I talked about earlier. It's just that the future really is going to real-time systems, and we've continued to find that when we want to provide a good learning experience, UE4 is not only a great real-time engine, it's a good learning experience, and we've just continued to leverage that. So that's kind of where we've been and what we've been doing.
Awesome. Well, it looks like we might be getting some technical difficulties. No, looks like we're okay. How's the stream? Are we back? Is everything going all right there? I know we were getting some crazy laggies. How's everything going with everyone? Or it looks like we're back up and running. Sorry about that. It looks like maybe a couple of last slides were a little laggy. Thank you for the presentation. It was pretty awesome. The internet sometimes, what time is this? Like all the kids are getting out of school and they're all getting on their games or something.
Over here in the UK, people are getting on Netflix. So.
Netflix. But we're back. We seem okay. Yep, everyone's getting green lights across the board. No drop frames or anything on my end. Everybody all right? Okay, thank you, internets. Good. All right, thumbs up. You know, we've got Neil coming up, but I think one thing I would like to do before we go over to Neil is that we, as I think I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, thank you very much, Seth. That was amazing. And I think, you know, we've got a lot of great conversation to have about that. And, you know, some people had some really inspired questions, but, you know, the work that you've done at Brigham Young and the work that Sue Ann's done and the work that Neil and the students from Hertfordshire, we always are requesting student work, right? And so we request the student work and they can send it to Epic Games, studentreal@epicgames.com or studentreal@unrealengine.com, and they can submit their work to us. And we would get that throughout the year, and we would make usually an annual reel. But this year, because we're getting so much good, super high quality student work, we've made a second reel. And so we've got a fall reel. And so before we actually turn it over to Neil, I want to take it right here in the middle of the presentations today and show everyone this reel because it is so good and so exciting that I think it's a really nice segue into our final presentation. So if you don't mind, Neil, I'm going to go ahead and play this one because it just popped up. We just released it on YouTube. And so without further ado, I'm going to play it and then we'll come back.
I'm excited.
All right. So here we go, everybody. Check out the latest and greatest fall Epic Games Unreal Engine Student Showcase. Yes, Tom Shannon says yes. crazy good, right? Crazy good.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, please check it out some more. I know I've watched it a couple of times. I love the music, and I think the editors at Epic and the marketing team did an amazing job. We review these things and the student work constantly, and we want to make more and more of these. And so please, if you are working with students, please encourage them to submit it. Highest quality video is always best. There's some pieces in here from some of the panelists. There's some great pieces from some of the student projects that we talked about yesterday. And I think it's really a testament. I've had the privilege of having worked on this reel since 2016, and to see the trajectory of student work from 2016 until now is really quite stellar. So I can't imagine what they're going to be like 2, 3, 5 years from now, because we already have people inside at Epic going, that is one of the better reels that we do every year, and so they're only getting better. But without taking any more focus away from Neil's presentation, please, would you share some of the amazing work that you are all doing at Hertfordshire and some of that which we just saw on the reel?
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. It's that Mark in London. Switch to presentation. Switch. Okay, is that on the screen?
You are in speaker mode. There you go.
Okay, we can see it.
You got it.
Yep, should I start? Yep, okay, good. So, I'm Neil Gallagher. I'm the senior lecturer, the award leader for Games Art at the University of Hertfordshire. So we've got 4 core courses. So I'll start with the most important one, which is my course, 3D Games Art and Design. We have a digital animation course, 2D animation, and a visual effects course, more for film. And at any point during the first year, you can try different courses, and you're welcome to change pathway. So by the second year, if you decide that you want to become an animator, for example, you can switch the BA. So the first year is very much like a foundation course. We've also got MAs in those areas. Some of the recent awards. So last year we won the Tiger, the best educational institution in the UK. That was a really nice evening at the Natural History Museum. And we've just found out recently that we won Game of the Year with a project called Uplink. That's the 4th time we've won that award at the Rookie, so we're really amazed and just in awe of our students, stuff they come up with. We also won with Bygone, the Film of the Year for visual effects, and People's Choice Award, and a highly commended Rookie of the Year. So we just found out yesterday, actually, we've won school best school in the world for production excellence in games design development, and number 2 in the world for visual effects. So super happy about that, and various other awards as well in the rookies category. Awesome competition. If there's any lecturers listening, definitely get your students to enter that. So yeah, super happy with that. And lots of other awards. So 2020, despite everything's been going on, has been a pretty good year for the University of Hertfordshire. So this is where we are, pretty big campus. We're in Hatfield in Hertfordshire, just north of London. It's like 20 minutes from King's Cross, the famous Harry Potter station. And that's our campus. So yeah, 25,000 students, 2,700 staff. It's a really lovely campus, very dynamic, and really nice modern buildings everywhere. And the building we are in is the Film, Music and Media building. So it's a really lovely building because it's a cross collaboration of courses. Top floor is music, middle floor is all the animation courses, and the bottom floor is film. But the whole sort of like area where we are is arts and crafts, and it's got all the illustration and architecture courses and fine art, all sorts of different stuff. So here are all the lecturers. We're mainly all from industry, so we've got a vast, we've got about 10 years plus experience in the industry. We've actually had to learn to become lecturers. So we've all had to do various diplomas or continued professional advanced development courses. I've just recently finished a Master's by Research. Some of the lecturers have gone on to do PhDs. So we are learning to become academics. So we're sort of like the role reversal of most institutions, where we're from industry and having to learn to become academics. So I thought I'd just start this presentation off by looking at some of our alumni and just the different disciplines. explain their journey. So this is Ben, character artist here, Ashley Sparling. He's just recently come back from back to Frontier over in Cambridge. Floyd Billingsley, Vince Try. So different areas that they go into. Some are character based, some are environment based. There's your friend Lewis Scott over in Epic. And here we go. So that's another example there. So vast difference in styles there. So the automotive industry, he's John Bond's been at McLaren for a few. So how does it all begin for the students? So in the first year, we get them straight into Maya. Or we're switching over to Blender, I think. So we're always looking into new softwares and Houdini and things. Getting straight into 3D software. The first few weeks is just getting to learn 3D software and getting them up to snuff. So they either build something organic like a shark or a building or a pod racer from Star Wars. The building project's good, where it's like a little project where they build something and just try and replace it best they can. Mark's probably used to this area, come from an architectural background. And that teaches them a lot of modularity. So going forward into UE4, that's great because there's lots of copy and paste there for the doors and the windows and the pillars, and they start to understand that sort of process before they jump into Unreal 4 a few months into the course. Concept art, we're heavily into concept art, so we are very much roots are in art and design. So we have Frank Victoria from Weta. He worked on like King Kong and Tintin and Lord of the Rings and things like that. So life drawing, we do 1 day a week, the whole 3 years you're here is life drawing. And we also have extra drop-in life drawing classes in the evening. So the students can go along to those and just get cracking with the artwork. So we've got a mantra on the course that everyone's got about 10,000 bad drawings in them. We just need to get them out of the way. So animation, we encourage students to experiment 2D, 3D, anything they want to, anything as long as it's moving on the animation side of things. Phil's an awesome lecturer. He's used to run a studio in London. We encourage students to go to festivals and events. So whether it's FMX or an Unreal event, there's like a regular meetup in Unreal meetup in London, for example. There's the Animation Mentors Club in London and so on. We also have acting classes, so you can see the students acting on the top right. They are because if you're a bad actor, then basically your motion capture is going to look bad. So and your animation will look bad. So so that's a big help. So we get actors to come in and teach them how to act. We have professional Wednesdays where we try and get industry in as much as possible. So here's Lewis kindly visiting us, and he showed us that day it was the Edster for Fortnite and how that's all made. Year 2, we start to delve more into the various different softwares that are going to help them in their different disciplines. So if you're into Unreal, it's all the other things that feed into that that's going to help their product look really good. Same with visual effects. So this is primarily how we teach. So 2 large screens, the student will be there and be learning on screen, and then we can go around the room and help them when there's questions. Year 2, we start to introduce things like project outreach, where it's a live project basically. So here's a student's example. So she helped out with a project called Days of War. So just a small asset, and that starts their relationship with industry and gets the confidence up to get feedback. And it's really nice for the student to be able to see a product, their artifacts going into a product that's going to be released. So modularity, that all starts to come in there. So and also great for the Unreal Marketplace that you can stick an artifact like this, stick it on the marketplace, and then start to move it around and get different train trucks from the one asset. So modularity is a big part of explaining to the students how to get the most out of their assets. Human anatomy. So I'm quite big on as much human anatomy as I can fit into the course as possible. We have clay as well. So clay sculpture, that's really good because before they jump into ZBrush, they can just feel the structure of the human. And sometimes we're lucky enough to get a lecture in from like Madden Tussauds, and they can really go to town on the anatomy and slowly build up all the different muscle groups and explain exactly what's going on. So they have a much greater understanding before they come to my ZBrush lessons on human anatomy and animal anatomy. And that will help for their creatures. So you can see like the top right crazy orangutan creature with the goat horns. They just will start thinking about the anatomical form and structure. So like the spider creature in the bottom right, you can just see they're taking elements from the spider with the extra eyes and the way the horns will feed into the body and things. And just talking about texture fidelity and things. A great project was Wild Roots. This was a second-year project, and they did a great job on the horse. And I think moving forward with UE4 teaching, we're going to start to see a lot more blend shapes and corrective shapes and what I call real-time morphology. Very much done with bones at the moment, but I think we're going to see quite a lot more on the facial rig side of things going forward. So that'll be quite a big area to expand on. Another project that I love is the scene from a film. So we're going to start that in a couple of weeks' time, and that will lead us up till Christmas, the second-year project. And what's good about this one, films tend to have really good lighting, camera composition, good use of lens materials all laid out for them, rather than trying to replicate from maybe a game or concept art. Or it's great as it is doing that, and that's a very good practice. But I think film is good for a second year for dipping their toes into it. They can jump straight in. So that was like Hateful Eight. See if you can recognize the films. Sunshine. What's that one? It was Matrix.
I don't know that one.
Crimson Peak. Moon. Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. So, and at the end of that project, they've got a ton of other stuff to do in semester B, but hopefully over the summer, they'll take that project. So this is an example here from Ben, where it's from I Am Legend. And they can just finish it off, take it apart, tidy it up, break it down. Here's all the modularity here, ready for, well, hopefully they can even stick it in the marketplace. And it's just a really good for their art station to be able to put it out there and show the community and get feedback. Put it on the Unreal forum, put it on Polycount forums. So we've got our own internal forum, and getting as much feedback as possible, making sure they're doing things correctly, showing the lecturers and their cohort as well. Like I said, we're always looking into new things. So this year, I'm starting to touch into Houdini and Blender. I encourage students to go to the Unreal Learning resources as much as possible. Some fantastic things, because it's so vast. You know, I mean, I'm mainly teaching like games, art, and design, but you could go into all these different disciplines. There's so much to tap into, and all the time. I mean, but like a lot of the people mentioned tonight, virtual production is becoming a new thing. So you could go on here and just get what's at the forefront, and from people who are currently doing it in the industry, and you'll just get like current industry practice, which is just phenomenal. So that's a really good resource. We have our own internal forum, 3D Hit. This is a bit more gentle than the Polycount and the Unreal forums, as great as they are, but they can be quite hard hitting from professionals. So this is a bit more where lecturers and students and alumni can come back and help each other out. And we encourage students to do things like the master classes in the evenings. They can, especially now it's on Zoom, they can, like maybe an alumni might come back and just help out and give a little lesson for a few hours. At the end of year 2, we always encourage students to enter every single internship that they can find online. Just go for it. So Michael went off to JAGX, and he did the summer internship, and then they said, hey, do you want to just stay on for a whole year? So that was really cool. And he worked on RuneScape, and they just come back like a different beast when they've done that year in a games company. So here's Sebastian. He applied to go to the Rare internship and managed to get it, as did Zakia. And they really, they're jumping straight in there, and they're getting straight on with game assets. So here's Zakia's work. This was her concept art, and the assets were more or less this. This is what you're actually seeing in CFE. So this is actually Seb's. These are actually the 3D models that he actually put in the game. And what's lovely, he can go back to CFEs at any point and walk around his creations that he made while he was on his paid internship. And also, it's just phenomenally great for their, just ticking that box, like, have you got any industry experience? Boom, I've done it. So here is some more of Zakia's work. It's phenomenal. And I mean, that publicity shot you see all over the place. So she did a really good job. And then the third year, the big one. So they've had a go at doing a final major project. Sometimes it is a bit overambitious, and that's fine. But in the third year, they start to really sort of condense it, and they start to reach out, start posting all their little showreel bits and pieces on the ArtStation. on the ArtStation website, making a design document or the Games Bible, or however you might want to phrase it, then before they go on to their final major projects, then maybe live projects, entering competitions, and a hell of a lot more. So yeah, sometimes they go on to make a game, which I'll show you more about that one in a bit. So this is the sort of thing that is really interesting with Unreal. It really is becoming, I've noticed on the Unreal website, is you have like games and then you have non-games, and this is like really expanding. So we have students going into all these areas, and sometimes in their third year they go, you know what, I want to go into like the automotive industry, and they will just start focusing on these different disciplines and building a portfolio based around that. And as much as we can, we try and pull in industry professionals. And when the alumni go and work in these companies, then that's great, because then they can come back and help feed the information back to our students as well. So we're heavily industry focused. So various different the styles there, you can see like top right is a nice stylized games creation, more architectural top left, and more 3D animation and visual effects bottom right. So and it's all sort of helping each other and feeding in between the different courses. So a lot of planning and research goes into the student projects and the final major projects. So they will come weekly, show off for this lesson, the pre-production document, and they'll show us, and then we'll say, oh, that's lovely. You know, okay, so what's inside that area there, inside that throne room? And then they'll come back the following week. You know, okay, I've concepted it out now. And they go, okay, so we can start breaking down how long is it going to take to build that sculpture and that throne and the pillar and so on. And then they can start to do their Gantt charts, burn down charts for semester B, and working out whether it's feasible or not. And doing these little tests, they're able to work out how long did it take to build that hut? Okay, how many huts I've got to build? And start breaking it all down. So from about halfway through the year, this is where they start to go from, you can see the top left, that's the layout, the grey box, and then they start to add all the foliage and the rocks and everything. During semester A, we encourage a lot of as much research and development as possible. Is it optimal? Is it framing out? Can you snip it down? You know, can you reduce it down in any way possible? So just little tests like simple UV scrolling. It really adds a nice bit of motion to their levels. The old foliage, you know, the moss on the rock as it turns around, and then this is a lovely tool. So when the moss is upright, you click on it, and then the foliage pops out, bonk. And then a bit of bunting. We all love. I think bunting's amazing. Stick bunting everywhere in games. Makes the world happy. I think that's what everyone needs on their houses. That'd be world peace. So this is another mantra here. So your first 5 to 6 ideas are always your worst. So just sketch out ideas, and here we can see an example of that. So that student's finalized on his idea there, and then fleshed it out a little bit more before going into the final artifact, and then looking at design and any of the little artifacts that might help the design as well. And here's some little shots off the final product, zoomed up a million times. So that was the process there of the final major project, and I'm always encouraging to post on the Unreal website, on the Unreal forum, because like here's a great example here where it goes in the spotlight, and that's, you know, everyone around the world is opening up Unreal that day will have this little spotlight feed, and they'll get a lot of clicks and a lot of notoriety, and that's awesome for them. So post and plug your work as much as possible. And yeah, I mean, this is another great example where it might even go on to get blogged in the Unreal talks. So I just quickly pieced this together just to show the different styles here. So you can see Dorum, top left, it's like a battle royale type game, full of craziness. The top right is more of a VR simulation of what England will look like after Brexit. Bottom left is more like a Nintendo cutesy kind of game. It had a dialogue system in that, and it was a proper little role-playing game. You could pick up items up and all sorts. And then Spire, bottom right, that last year won. That was a second-year project, and actually won at the Rookies. So it was the same team who went on this year as again. So pretty awesome. And this was Star Bounty, really nice final major project. Really worked hard on that. And I think this is when Unreal was, just the landscape stuff was really there was a lot of great people. There's like a guy called Evil Mr. Frank. I don't know if you guys know him on YouTube. It's just amazing. There's various people like that now doing some really creative landscape stuff. So, so this is what they're really pushing towards. The at the end of the year, we have the animation expose. It's basically an end of year show. And you can check out more of the work there at the UH for University of Hertfordshire, UH Animation. And during the day, we have 4 entry guest speakers, and the students are all really pushing to get their projects in. Out of all the ones that submitted, we try and get it down to about the best 20 or so projects to be shown off. And that helps to really sort of push the quality of the work on the course. So before COVID, that's what the end of year show did look like. So it had to be online this year. So hopefully we'll get back to this one day. And the students all help out. Amazing job that day. It's really fun. And this is great as well. Alumni can come back and talk about the films or games that they're working on and how the tools that they're using. And it's just like a big fun day, really. Yeah, so thank you very much for listening. I think that's pretty much covered everything. Did you want to show Spire, or have we got time for that?
To show Uplink?
Uplink, yeah.
Yeah, sure. You ready?
Great, yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Here we go.
Yeah, I got it. Come on, you big toaster. Let's get out of here. Come on. Well, we can't both fit through there. Bring up the map. So we'll split up along here. I'll go ahead to drone control. You can, you'll figure something out.
That is just gorgeous. Well done.
So cool.
Good job. They worked hard on that one.
You mean you just don't push a button and that makes cinematic in Unreal? That's what I tell them.
It went actually into a first-person game at the end as well. But Thomas was offered a job and before he graduated, but he made a lovely little indie game as well. It was like a top-down gauntlet, sci-fi gauntlet game. It was amazing. I'll see if I can stick it in showreel.
Thank you for that presentation. There was actually a question, right at the very beginning of the stream, which we're going to end really soon, I promise, because we're at the top of the hour, and we've had these delightful guests here for a long time. But there was actually a question about internships, and maybe here, as we're sort of coming to the end of the stream, you guys can talk a little bit about how your students approach internships and what kinds of vehicles and maybe how Unreal even factors in, because your students come out really well trained, and I know that at Epic we know the demand right now for people that are skilled and trained in Unreal Engine. Can you just talk a little bit about what it means for your students who can demonstrate in their portfolios that they have technical art or art skills in Unreal Engine in general, or cinematic skills or whatever, virtual production, and how that's factoring in for internships or even employment?
Yeah, I'll just start. Shall I just jump in? I think just like I've been saying through the talk, just keep on posting on Polycount and Unreal Forum and reaching out to people. I mean, LinkedIn's an amazing resource where you can just tap into what industry job do you really want, and just don't pester them, but just say, maybe even start with an interview. I've got to do this for my coursework. May I interview? I want to get into virtual production. Any chance you could look at my work? Is it going in the right direction? Get some sort of feedback, and then really sort of build on that as much as possible. And I think that's also just listening to what the industry wants as well, because they don't necessarily want like a 2-3 minute show reel. Nowadays, it's just a few shots in an art station, and if they're interested, they might just click on the if there is a reel or a bit of concept art. But mainly, and I'm always saying, don't go crazy. Some students think they've got to build like a Spitfire and then a Juggernaut and then a Demon and this, that, and the other. I'm always just saying, just do 3 or 4 things really well, whether it's a building or a tank or whatever, and go to town, take it apart, show how it's pieced together in modularity. That will get you the job over too many things. It's like today I was teaching hair, and I just say, just do like my hair, just something simple going back, because I know they always want to go, I want to do a barbarian of big hair, curly beard, plaits, and it's just like, no, let's stage 1, do a simple hairstyle, even just a few strands, and then just you build up that knowledge. So that would be my advice.
Perfect.
Yeah, just a second that actually real quick. A lot of the time people want to say wow when they're looking through reels, and then all of a sudden something just stands out to them. Right, that's more important than just trying to have a whole bunch of stuff and chase everything. Just make them say wow. And then like Neil's saying, reach out a lot. I mean, our program, as well as the others, we have a bunch of studios come in here and there and look at reels or talk to the students or whatever. But our students have had more doors open just by putting themselves out there on sites, stuff like that, as well as making the connections that we have here. They're not waiting around for someone to come find them. They're putting themselves out to other people, and it opens lots of doors.
Yeah, I'm going to ride with the answers with Neil and Seth. We definitely have a program called the Career Alumni Services that connect the students with internship opportunities, but it is through the conversations of the studios and recruiters that are coming in that's helping us inform our decisions on how to proceed with our curriculum. So as mentioned, it's kind of interesting for internship. We're starting to really learn what opportunities are open. And as you were asking, Louis, the mention of engine knowledge, especially Unreal Engine, how pervasive it is right now, has really made a difference. I have more than one studio really say, wow, that put your students right on the top of the marker for recruitment. And it was interesting. One of the non-entertainment recruiters came in and was asking for a student who had Unreal knowledge, wanted to build a VR program. But it was interesting because I said, no, I don't think an intern is going to be able to help you build an entire program out there. But that it's just these pent-up energy of I didn't mention this earlier, but Forrester research has mentioned what the availability of technology has really been able to shake up in the idea of how creatives can also be innovators and actually implement. It's not just where the top level of people who can implement with programming are able to do so. So we're really seeing that in multiple industries now, and that realization of a conversation was just a shocker that they're going to take an intern to really expand their real-time technology program. So it was just a fantastic conversation. We're learning always from these recruiters, but the ability to actually say, yes, we built Unreal into our curriculum really puts them to the top.
Great.
Another place that, sorry, just one more quick thing. Sure. Another place that Unreal really helps, both the knowledge of knowing Unreal, and a lot of recruiters want to know that you understand process, and diving through Unreal helps you understand process as well. So not only are you showing off something really cool, but I've been through this before and understand it. That's super helpful.
Fantastic. I just want to give one last opportunity for anyone in the stream to ask a final question as we wrap up today, but also an opportunity for any one of you who, not related specifically to internship, have any final piece of advice, specifically for anyone out there who may be new to Unreal, new to teaching Unreal, new to learning Unreal. Any final thoughts as we prepare to close the stream today? That's not a good look, Mark.
I'll start with that one. I want to say that for all the educators and students out there, the world of being able to be a creative is just opening even more and more every single day. So as final thoughts of how we evolve curriculum or how you're deciding for future careers, there is a way for you to find a path. And it's really most important for high schoolers to start doing asking more questions, doing a little bit more research, really engage in the larger community, because what we're seeing is a convergence of the right side and the left side of the brain, where I'm so glad to be able to see Seth and Neil there. When I first originally saw Uplink, and when I first remember seeing Beatboxer, I was just like, damn, students, look, we need to see what we can do. So it's amazing to have this academic conversation, but for all the learners and educators out there, this is only the beginning of that convergence. So we really look forward to that future discussion. And I'm really proud that we've been able to integrate both the computer science technical person as well as the art creative.
That's a great point.
Amen.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just said amen to that. Yeah, great, Sue-Ann. Yeah.
I think one of the things I've seen from a lot of your students is that they know how to learn now. That's one of the great things as well, and that stands them in phenomenal stead in their careers moving forward. I think if you learn nothing else, learn how to learn, then you can actually build upon that, and it's a skill in its own right.
I think my biggest when everyone says what makes a great student, I think it's those that seek feedback. Those that seek feedback and learn how to self-learn, like you just said, Mark. And like Seth said earlier, an important thing, get it into Engine. Do it now.
Yes.
Because it's just so important. I see so many people noodling around in 3D software, and it's like, just put it in there, and then you just start to realize a whole vast plethora of things will open up for you.
Make the mistakes. Mistakes are part of learning, and it's only by making mistakes that you'll start to get things right. As you said, 10,000 bad drawings, and then you start doing some stuff which is amazing.
You know who else failed 10,000 times? I heard this the other day, and it was Thomas Edison in developing the light bulb.
Yep.
And we really like the light bulb.
I'm quite fond of them.
Light bulb. It's like the research, isn't it? Who was it? They said they discovered electricity. What's that for? I don't know. It's going to have a use sometime. So yeah, research as much as possible. Don't know what you'll end up with in UE4.
All right, so we are a quarter after the hour, which means that it's time for us to end today's stream. But we really want to thank Sue-Ann and Seth and Neil for joining us today. And once again, as usual, Mark. And thank you, Tom, for being in the stream and helping us out. And we hate it when Tom's not here. And we really appreciate it when Mark is playing the reverse role of Tom and helping out in the chat. And we hope you all stay safe, Seth and Sue-Ann and Neil, and continue to grow your programs and help develop Unreal Engine talent and grow students, and hopefully all your faculties and students stay safe. We hope you all stay safe in the chat, and thank you all for joining us today. We had some dropouts of the internet, so hopefully the VOD will be safe and we'll be able to get this on YouTube. I'll check that out as soon as I can. Please join us next Friday. We're going to have another educator stream. It will be focused on programming scripting with Python, and we'll have a great guest who actually has developed a whole course on building pipelines with Python and focused on using Python in pipelining, particularly in the context of virtual production and building pipeline tools that a lot of people really want to build if you think about using Unreal for making television and film and how powerful that is as a pipeline tool, we know that we can use C++, we know we can use Blueprint, but Python is integrated in and is being used quite extensively as a pipeline tool. So I think that'll be a very informative stream. Once again, thank you everyone, and stay safe. And I'm going to close us off today by playing the Student Showcase 301 last time, and then we will be done. Thank you again for joining us. And here, once again, is the Student Showcase. Hasta luego.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.